Right, shifting focus to another story we've been tracking here all this morning. The Supreme Court of India has agreed to an open court hearing on the Scheduled Caste and Scheduled Tribe Act. Remember, Dalit groups had yesterday protested across the country alleging a dilution of the SC/ST Prevention of Atrocities Act, and which also saw the killing of at least 9 people in various incidents across the country. All right, WION Jessica Taneja joins me live from outside the Supreme Court in New Delhi. Good morning, Jessica. We've been discussing about this story at some length this morning. What's the latest you're hearing about when the hearing will actually take place?
Good morning, Ramesh. The hearing will begin at 2 p.m. It's been confirmed now. Earlier, the court had said it will decide whether it wants to hear it at 2 p.m. or later, but now it's confirmed it's going to be heard at 2 p.m. today. Also, important fact to highlight here is that this will be an open court hearing, a review petition of the Supreme Court's order, and we've been talking about that particular order that the Supreme Court had given out on the 20th of March, which had sparked massive outrage across the country. You've seen protests. In fact, 9 people have been killed in those protests across the country, and that has become an issue of national importance. This is one of the reasons why the Apex Court said it will hear the matter as a fact that it's an urgent case that needs to be addressed.
Also, Jessica, what are we hearing about the government's position on this going forward, especially in light of the review petition filed yesterday? What can we expect the government to argue when the hearing resumes?
Well, absolutely, Ramesh. You know, the government has given a review petition. Now, it's important to highlight that it was the government which was denying the fact that the review petition in, the centre was also part of that case long back. ASG Maninder Singh on record was, in fact, arguing for the government on this. He also presented some NCRB, National Crime Bureau record, statistics to claim and to give out details, basis on which the Supreme Court gave out that order. But let's inform and tell our viewers exactly as to what the review petition highlights. There are a few points that the review petition highlights, and we'll tell our viewers about it. The review petition is against the judgment that was given out by the Supreme Court on the 20th of March. Now, the Supreme Court has said that automatic arrest under the SC/ST Atrocities Act of 1989, which allows automatic arrest of perpetrators and people behind such criminal, hideous acts against the scheduled caste, scheduled tribes and the minority, marginalized communities of the country. And this sort of gives the police, this gave the police the rights and special courts to give the rights to arrest individuals and perpetrators. Also, the Supreme Court changed that order on the 20th of March. Instead, Supreme Court said there should be a 7-day window period to do investigations for the police before, or preliminary investigation, so to say, before these arrests are made, in order to ensure there is no misuse of this act. So, trying to understand on what that is, the Supreme Court, in fact, gave out that order, and the government filed a review petition challenging that order because there was so much pressure from the marginalized communities and various SC/ST community people coming out on the roads and protesting and literally lighting up, in fact, burning and ravaging public property out here. And in that review petition, Ramesh, the centre has told yesterday it was filed in the Supreme Court for urgent hearing. In that review petition, the government says the judgment of the 20th of March entails wide ramifications. Now, this comes in the backdrop of the protests that's been happening in the country and how the SC/ST and other marginalized community who benefit from this act had come out in the streets to protest. The review petition says that the order deserves to be recalled and to be reviewed by the Supreme Court. Why? Because the judgment suffers from errors on the face of the record that have been presented. Now, let's understand how what was in that judgment that in fact sparked this outrage. As I was mentioning earlier, that this is important to highlight, no automatic arrest will be made, and this is where a lot of people were angered about the fact that their rights are being diluted under the Constitution of India. It is their right. This act was formed to protect them, and if these instances are taken away, it is easy for the perpetrators to come and attack. But then again, the Supreme Court giving out a very balanced judgment saying that there should be no misuse. Any act or any constitutional provision in the country, Ramesh, comes with certain contours, comes with certain directions to not be misused in the future. Look at your Right to Privacy Act. Look at any other fundamental right that is guaranteed to its citizens under the Constitution of India. It makes sure that it is not misused, even though you're guaranteed right to freedom, equality, liberty. But then again, it cannot be misused under the court of law.
Right, so as Jessica mentioned there, that the court will resume hearing the case at 2 p.m. India time, that's 8:30 GMT. And that we'll come to know what transpires in the court hearing later this afternoon. On that note, Jessica Thanuja, thank you so much for joining me with all that update from outside the Supreme Court of India.